My message is, I can see in my mind's eye those rows and rows of white stones of all the hundreds of my friends and everybody else that gave their lives for what? The country of today. No, I'm sorry. The sacrifice wasn't worth the result that it is now. What we fought for was our freedom. We find that even now it's darn sight worse than what it was when I fought for it.
A World War II hero expressing regret for his sacrifice and the sacrifice of his friends in the 1940s because of what his country has become today.
Sacrifice and the sacrifice of his friends.
Bear, you served in obviously much more recent wars, but gave portions of your life to preserving something at home here in America. And you hear that from somebody who did so much in World War II, so much for Western civilization, for the UK. What does it make you think?
Well, it's heartbreaking, and I think it's a warning sign for what we're seeing over there. You know, I think the erosion of free speech is a very slippery slope, and I think we all need to take note of that. And I hope the people of the UK will stand up for what's going on over there. And as Americans, we need to see that and make sure that we go nowhere near what they're doing over there.
Yeah, it's a real warning for us.
Throwing guys in jail for tweets and things like that is something, you know, 10 years ago you would have thought somebody was crazy if they said something like that, and now we see it happening in real time. So, and I've been to Normandy. I went to the 80th to see those World War II vets and what it means to them, especially at the cemetery there, almost 10,000 graves. It's hallowed grounds, and those guys know the true price of freedom, so we can't forget it.
It's incredible to hear him say, the country I fought for back then is not the one that exists today, and this is not what I fought for back then. And it is a warning in the UK. Censorship and free speech is part of that. The erosion of their culture, British culture, is also part of that. And I do think it should be an absolute warning. And for guys like you that have fought for something, in particular and specific here at home in America, and you continue to.
I have always believed in giving people power and control over their lives. Control over the public services they use, how they access childcare, benefits and housing support. Control over their data and who sees it. And control over the choices they make to rent or buy a home, apply for a job, open a bank account and much more besides. In the age of the smartphone, we can take this control quite literally into our own hands. But too often, it feels like we're at the mercy of a system that doesn't work for us as well as it should. One with endless form filling and bureaucracy just to prove who you are. Where you might need your passport to apply for a job, your national insurance number to pay tax, your driving license to buy a pint or a glass of wine, if you're lucky enough to be asked. And most frustratingly of all, you might have to rummage around in a drawer looking for an old electricity bill just to open a bank account or join the library or enroll your children in school. It's time to fix this, to put power back in people's hands, to get more out of our public services and to bring the UK into the modern age. Madam Deputy Speaker, there are 3 reasons why we want to introduce a new free digital ID available to all UK citizens and legal residents above the age of 16. First, it's about giving people greater agency over their lives.
A story we've looked at many times over the last few weeks. In fact, we've looked at it many times over the last few years, but it seems to take another turn each time or each day. Brits worried that Keir Starmer's digital ID card plans won't stop illegal immigration or people smuggling, warning they could be bypassed and create more red tape for legal residents. Experts doubt their impact on overstayers and opponents fear privacy risks there are risks of privacy without real benefits. Let's speak with Andrew Orlowski, columnist at The Telegraph, and we've spoken to Andrew a few times on this issue. Good to have you with us again. I mean, this is kind of like sort of tell us something we didn't know territory, isn't it? I mean, it was always almost a juvenile idea to suggest, oh, this is all about keeping the country safe, digital ID. It's going to stop the immigrants, which was a load of cobblers to begin with.
They are putting in place all of these technological mechanisms for control we've never seen before. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian state from the beginning of mankind to control every aspect of behavior, of conduct, of thought, and to obliterate dissent. The mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide. Within 5 years, we're going to see 415,000 low-orbit satellites. Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day. They're putting in 5G to harvest our data and control our behavior. Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply. Vaccine passports. You have a series of rights, as flawed as our government is. You can still go out and go to a bar, you can go to a sporting event, you can get on a bus or an airplane and you can travel. You have certain freedoms. You can get educated, etc. The minute they hand you that vaccine passport, every right that you have is transformed into a privilege contingent upon your obedience to arbitrary government dictates. It will make you a slave.
Sophie from the Mirror here. Come to Brighton, they said. It'll be sunny, they said. Get fish and chips, they said. Well, none of those things are happening. Why am I here? Because Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, is here, talking about digital ID. What is digital ID? The Prime Minister announced plans to roll out digital ID for all very recently. This will mean that on a government app, you will be able to get a digital ID, a way to prove your identity. So you'll be able to use this for things like buying alcohol, if you need to prove your identity when you're renting a new place, or for when you need to do it when you're getting a new job. Now, the Prime Minister has been clear that it's not mandatory. If you still want to pay money and get physical documents, you're free to do that, except it is mandatory in some cases.
If you do want to work, if you want to prove your right to work, then yes, you do need to.
There has been a lot of backlash. People are worried about civil liberties, about mass surveillance, about privacy with their data. So the question is digital ID a danger or is it going to be a benefit? Sophie Hoskinson from the Mirror. Hi, Prime Minister. So support for digital ID cards fell from 35% in early summer to minus 14% after you announced it. Are you still going to press ahead with this policy, even though it's clearly very unpopular with the public?
I do, because I think there's massive benefits, but I think what we need to do, and this is an opportunity, is to get over the benefits of it, because I suspect if you did a survey, maybe you could do this, said, do you want to cut the fat when you want to rent or buy or otherwise prove your identity, to something simple on your phone and not your passport, your driving license, your bank account, your birth certificate. I suspect lots of people say, if you've got something to cut the fat out of my life, I'll be up for it. So I think we've got to demonstrate the benefits of this, why it will actually help so many people access support they're entitled to. And the best evidence of that is in pretty well every country that's got digital ID and it's not mandatory, the take-up rates are massive because it ends up being such a useful tool for people. So I think we've just got to make that positive case for it.
Prior to the 2020 lockdowns, buy now, pay later services were obscured from most of the market. A firm was founded in 2012 by PayPal co-founder Max Levchin, but was only used on high purchases by a small handful of merchants. After the 2020 lockdowns, as people's money became weaker, sudden partnerships with Apple Pay and Amazon, a Super Bowl ad, and an IPO brought a firm and the entire buy now, pay later scheme to a public already slipping into debt. The first year saw an over 400% increase in people using buy now, pay later services to buy essentials, including groceries, gas, and paying their utilities. Starting in 2024, the firm has been gradually rolling out its new requirement for biometric identification. Once again, this is the old-fashioned problem, reaction, solution scheme being deployed. Under the guises of safety and fraud prevention, the buy now, pay later industry will soon require biometric ID, and Visa is following close behind. Visa launched their payment passkey in 2024, which allows you to voluntarily make purchases with your phone's built-in biometrics. Visa aims to be biometric first by 2026. The international banking cartel has made it clear that this is where we are headed. It's the only way the crypto AI control grid can function. While many of us can clearly see this as a major upgrade for tyranny and an affront to human free will, many are perfectly content with an authoritarian state. The 2020 lockdowns seemed to have reinforced this.
Tyranny and authoritarianism doesn't always look like what we think it looks like. They can go the 1984 jackbooted thugs with the boot on the face sort of tyranny, or they can go the Aldous Huxley Brave New Worlds people with soma and making them love their servitude kind of a tyranny. And either one is bad, but at the very least, when you have the 1984 police state, Big Brother kind of police state, at the very least, people know that there is a tyrant and they know that the boot is on their face. I think there probably is a point at which you've invested your identity so much in a certain political propaganda line that it would be very difficult for you to come back from it, which is why I think the COVID conversation basically disappeared so quickly, because so many people probably understood intuitively they'd been had, but no one wants to talk about it.
An FAA waiver issued last March made it legal for government agencies and local police to operate drones beyond a visual line of sight and over large crowds of people here in the U.S. And since then, California company Skydio is now deploying its quadcopter drones in just about every major U.S. city. These drones have thermal imaging cameras. They're operated without a human user, and they have been deployed by Israel since October 2023 to track, trace, and murder tens of thousands of non-combatant Palestinians. The very same drones used by the U.S. Department of War to surveil its enemies, the same drones used by Israel to ethnically cleanse what's left of Palestine, are now being launched every day in most major U.S. cities to track and trace every individual. The new financial system is now ready to be born out of the ashes of the old, and all that will be required in order to buy and sell will be your consent to the biometric digital ID. While many people rightly say that money is already digital, when world leaders say digital money today, it means cryptocurrency, which is now part of a worldwide scheme to monitor your actions and control your money. This new form of currency will require you to have a unique digital wallet, which is essentially a digital ID. Last spring, European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde said that the ECB will be ready to launch the digital euro by this October. According to the Atlantic Council, 137 countries and currency unions are preparing for a crypto digital currency. 3 countries have already launched theirs: the Bahamas, Jamaica, and Nigeria. CBDCs in the advanced stages are the digital euro, China's digital yuan, India's e-rupee, the United Kingdom's digital pound, Brazil's digital real, and Russia's digital ruble. Hong Kong is preparing to launch a stablecoin. Japan's Financial Services Agency is preparing to launch a Japanese yen stablecoin this fall. And President Trump, who has been pushing stablecoin development, has repeatedly announced that the USA will lead the world in AI and crypto. His family is heavily invested and stand to make billions when the world goes crypto. The Trump family even have their own stablecoin, the USD1 stablecoin from World Liberty Financial. Trump's puppet masters likely have another stablecoin in mind to be the digital dollar, but a puppet can still dream. The only difference between a CBDC, central bank digital currency, and a stablecoin is name only. Both will be programmed according to the nation's financial policies. Both are capable of operating a carbon tax and a social credit score. The only difference is one will be managed by a central bank and the other by a private corporation. In the USA, something like BlackRock. CEO of BlackRock and longtime business associate of President Trump, Larry Fink, was recently appointed interim co-chair of the World Economic Forum. The Trump administration has been normalizing the deployment of the U.S. military as a police force in the streets of America. And according to Fox News, Pentagon officials are about to mobilize National Guard troops in 19 states to assist Homeland Security with President Trump's nationwide crackdown on illegal immigration and crime. This likely means ID checkpoints, because how else will a citizen prove their citizenship? But with a new digital ID, the military police state can simply scan you from a distance with Palantir technology. Doctors are discussing online how President Trump's swollen ankles and hand bruising are indications of congestive heart failure, the bruises on the hand being typical of IV diuretic treatments. The White House says it's from shaking hands. If Trump goes the unfortunate way of the clot shot, which he is still proud of, then J.D. Vance will be president, and he owes everything to Palantir's Peter Thiel, one of technocracy's biggest cheerleaders. The stage is now set for crypto and digital IDs, and if that happens, there will be pushback, especially in the 19 states being supplied with the National Guard.